Welcome to the None But Curious podcast. We're all about finding inspiration in life's uncertainties. Whether you're still figuring things out, questioning your beliefs, or just curious about the world, come hang out with us as we celebrate the beauty of not having all the answers.
Interruptions are an inevitable part of our daily lives. Whether it's a buzzing phone, an unexpected visitor, or even our own wandering thoughts, these disruptions can significantly impact our focus, productivity, and overall mental well being. For those who approach life with a spiritually agnostic mindset, understanding and managing interruptions can be a key aspect of fostering a balanced and harmonious existence. This episode explores what interruptions are, how our brains react to them, and offers practical strategies for managing interruptions. In the simplest terms, interruptions are disruptions that break the continuity of an activity or thought process. They can be external, such as a phone ringing or someone entering a room, or internal, such as sudden thoughts or emotions that divert our attention. Interruptions can range from minor distractions to significant disruptions that completely derail our focus and flow. Interruptions are not just mere annoyances, they have profound effects on our cognitive processes. According to Gloria Mark, a professor at the University of California, Irvine, the average worker is interrupted every 11 minutes, and it takes about 25 minutes to return to the original task after an interruption. This frequent shift of focus leads to what is known as attention residue, where a part of our mind remains fixated on the previous task, thereby reducing our overall cognitive capacity. Interruptions can be categorized into several types based on their source, duration, and impact on our mental processes. There are external interruptions, and these are disruptions that originate from our environment, such as a phone call, a colleague asking a question, a child wanting a snack, or a notification popping up on a screen. External interruptions are often beyond our control, but their impact can be mitigated through environmental modifications and boundary setting. Then there are internal interruptions. These are disruptions that arise from within our own minds, such as intrusive thoughts, daydreaming, or sudden emotional reactions. Internal interruptions can be particularly challenging to manage because they often stem from unconscious processes and can be difficult to anticipate. Tell me about it. Then we have temporary interruptions. These are brief disruptions that momentarily divert our attention but do not completely derail our focus. For example, quick glance at a notification or a passing thought might momentarily interrupt our work, but it can be easily ignored or quickly addressed. And then there are persistent interruptions. These are ongoing disruptions that continually draw our attention away from the task at hand. For example, a toddler a loud conversation in the background, or even a recurring thought about an upcoming event can persistently interrupt our focus, making it difficult to concentrate. Each type of interruption requires a different approach to management, and by understanding the nature of the interruption, we can develop more effective strategies for maintaining focus and productivity. Interruptions do more than just momentarily divert our attention. They can have lasting effects on our cognitive processes. When we're interrupted, our brains must disengage from the current task and shift focus to the new stimulus. This process, known as task switching, requires significant mental effort and can lead to cognitive overload. Research by Rubinstein, Meyer, and Evans has shown that task switching is not instantaneous. It involves a cognitive cost that can lead to slower performance and increased error rates. The brain must reorient itself to the new task, and when the interruption is over, it must then reorient itself back to the original task. This process takes time and energy, leading to what is known as switching costs. Switching costs are particularly high when the tasks being switched between are complex or require different cognitive resources. For example, switching between writing an essay and answering emails requires different types of cognitive processing, which can lead to greater mental fatigue and reduced performance. While occasional interruptions may be manageable, chronic exposure to interruptions can have long term effects on our mental health and well being. Research has shown that chronic interruptions can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and even burnout. Interruptions trigger the brain's stress response, releasing cortisol and other stress hormones. And while this response is adaptive in short bursts, chronic exposure to stress hormones can have detrimental effects on both physical and mental health. Over time, chronic stress can lead to symptoms of anxiety, depression, and burnout, particularly in environments where sustained focus is critical. Additionally, chronic interruptions can lead to a decrease in overall cognitive performance. When the brain is constantly forced to switch between tasks, it becomes less efficient at each task, leading to a decrease in productivity and an increase in errors. This can create a vicious cycle where decreased performance leads to increased stress, which in turn leads to more interruptions and further decreases in performance. Now, from a spiritually agnostic perspective, interruptions can serve as reminders of the impermanence and unpredictability of life. They challenge us to remain adaptable, to let go of rigid expectations, and to embrace the flow of the present moment. In many ways, interruptions reflect the natural ebb and flow of life, where plans and routines are often disrupted by unforeseen events. This perspective aligns with the Buddhist concept of impermanence, which teaches that all things are in a constant state of change. And by embracing this impermanence, we can develop a more adaptable and resilient mindset, viewing interruptions as a natural part of life rather than as obstacles to be overcome. However, this does not mean that interruptions should be welcomed without discernment. Instead, we can approach interruptions with the mindset of curiosity and mindfulness, using them as opportunities to practice presence and self awareness. This approach allows us to remain grounded and centered, even in the face of unexpected disruptions. And they happen quite often. When it comes to managing interruptions, mindfulness can be a powerful tool. By cultivating mindfulness, we can become more aware of the moments when our attention is diverted and how we react to those diversions. This awareness allows us to respond to interruptions with greater intention and clarity rather than reacting impulsively. For example, when an interruption occurs, rather than immediately responding to it, we can take a moment to pause and observe our reaction. Are we feeling frustrated, anxious, annoyed? By acknowledging these emotions without judgment, we can create space between the interruption and our response, allowing us to choose a more mindful and intentional course of action. Research has demonstrated that mindfulness practice can significantly improve cognitive control and reduce the disruptive effects of interruptions. A study by Mrazek et al. Found that individuals who engaged in mindfulness training were better able to maintain focus and recover more quickly from interruptions, indicating that mindfulness can enhance one's ability to manage distractions. These improvements in focus, cognitive control, and task engagement suggest that mindfulness could be a powerful tool for mitigating the negative effects of attention residue, helping individuals to re engage with tasks more effectively after being interrupted. And in addition to their cognitive and emotional impact, interruptions can also serve as opportunities for spiritual growth and self discovery. They can be viewed as moments of awakening, opportunities to pause, reflect, and reconnect with our inner selves. For example, an interruption might bring to our attention a previously unnoticed thought or emotion. By taking the time to explore this thought or emotion, we can gain valuable insights into our inner world and uncover areas of growth and healing. Interruptions can also serve as reminders to return to the present moment. In our fast paced, goal oriented society, it's easy to become consumed by our plans and ambitions, losing sight of the present moment. Interruptions can serve as a wake up call. Ding ding! Reminding us to return to the here and now and to appreciate the beauty and richness of the present moment. By approaching interruptions with a spirit of curiosity and openness, we can transform them from distractions into valuable moments of insight and growth. Different faiths and belief systems offer various perspectives on interruptions, reflecting their teachings and philosophies. In Christianity, interruptions are frequently seen as divine interventions or opportunities to practice virtues such as patience, humility, and compassion. For instance, an unexpected event might be interpreted as God's way of steering someone toward a new path or as a chance to serve others, thereby reinforcing the belief that everything happens for a purpose. In Hinduism, interruptions are often viewed through the lens of karma and dharma. Disruptions are seen as integral parts of one's spiritual journey, offering lessons and opportunities to fulfill one's duties or dharma and grow spiritually. An interruption might be perceived as the result of past actions, karma, or as a test of one's adherence to their dharma. Islam emphasizes the importance of intention, niyya, and submission to God's will, qadar. Interruptions are seen as tests or reminders of divine will, encouraging believers to accept them with grace and to see them as opportunities to demonstrate patience and faith. These interruptions can also serve as moments to reaffirm one's intentions and to realign with their spiritual path. Across these traditions, interruptions are often reframed as moments of spiritual significance, providing opportunities for reflection, growth, and the practice of core virtues. For the spiritually agnostic or nuns, These perspectives can offer valuable insights into how interruptions can be integrated into a broader spiritual practice, even without adherence to a specific religious doctrine. Understanding the nature and impact of interruptions is the first step in managing them effectively. The following strategies offer practical ways to navigate interruptions grounded in mindfulness, cognitive science, and agnostic principles. The first strategy is cultivating mindful awareness, and we've talked a lot about that. Mindful awareness is the practice of observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment. It allows us to become more aware of the moments when our attention is diverted and how we react to those diversions. So we can do this through mindful observation. Take a few moments each day to observe your surroundings and notice the interruptions that occur. Pay attention to how your mind reacts to them. This practice can help you develop greater awareness of external and internal eruptions, or interruptions, rather. Eruptions. I think I like that better. Eruptions. Sometimes interruptions feel like eruptions of your brain, right? So then there's mindful breathing. When an interruption occurs, take a few deep breaths to ground yourself in the present moment. Focus on the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves your body, and allow yourself to become fully present with the experience. And mindful pausing. When faced with an interruption, take a moment to pause before responding. And this pause allows you to observe your reaction and choose a more mindful and an intentional response. I do a combination of breathing and pausing. So if I find myself interrupted, I will close my eyes, take a deep breath, and try not to be too audible. That's my pause. And then I can move forward. The second strategy is creating a distraction free environment. While mindfulness is essential, creating a physical environment that minimizes interruptions is also crucial. This can involve simple changes such as turning off notifications on your electronic devices, setting specific times for checking emails, or creating a designated workspace that is free from distractions. Designating focus times during the day where interruptions are minimized can also be effective. During these periods, it's important to communicate with others about the importance of uninterrupted work time, setting boundaries that protect your focus and mental space. For example, you might use noise canceling headphones or set specific hours when you're not available for calls or meetings. The third strategy is practicing task switching or pivoting with intention. Since task switching is frequently unavoidable, handling it with intention can help minimize its negative impact. Pivoting, in this context, involves a strategic and mindful approach to managing disruptions that momentarily shift your focus. Instead of letting an interruption completely disrupt your concentration, pivoting allows you to transition smoothly between tasks or responses, maintaining both productivity and mental clarity. And here's how to practice it effectively. 1. Acknowledge the interruption. Recognize and accept the interruption without frustration, whether it's an external disturbance or an internal distraction. Acknowledging it helps you address it without emotional upheaval. 2. Assess the priority. Determine the urgency and the importance of the interruption. If it's a minor or non urgent issue, decide whether it can be briefly addressed or postponed. If it's more pressing, prioritize it appropriately. So, in this case, if I am interrupted by a notification on my phone, I look at it quickly and see if it's something that I can just acknowledge. Yep, I've got that information. If I have to send a quick text back, or if I need to prioritize it at a later time. 3, set a time limit. Allocate a specific amount of time to address the interruption. For example, if you're interrupted by a colleague, you might set a 5-minute limit for the discussion before returning to your original task. This is also helpful with kids. I started pivoting a few weeks ago because I found myself getting really frustrated about being interrupted all the time. I have a 3-year-old and I have 2 teenagers. That's going to happen naturally, more so with the 3-year-old. So, what I started doing is when he asks me to go do something or play, if I'm busy, I stop what I'm doing, appreciate the break, and I give a time limit. Okay, we're going to play with this for 5 minutes, and then mama's going to come back to her work. And more often than not, it's been working pretty nicely. 4, transition smoothly. Once the interruption is dealt with, take a moment to refocus on your previous task. Use a brief ritual such as reviewing your notes or taking a deep breath to reorient yourself and shift back into the work mindset. 5, adjust your workflow. If the interruption has impacted your schedule, adjust your workflow accordingly. This may involve reorganizing tasks, extending deadlines, or breaking down your remaining work into manageable chunks to regain momentum. By practicing pivoting, you can handle interruptions more effectively, maintain your productivity, and minimize the impact of disruptions on your overall work. And it just makes for a kinder you, honestly. The fourth strategy is embracing interruptions as opportunities for mindfulness. We keep talking about mindfulness. Do you see a pattern here? Rather than viewing interruptions as purely negative, reframe them as opportunities for mindfulness. When interrupted, take a moment to ground yourself in the present moment. This might involve taking a few deep breaths, observing your surroundings, or simply acknowledging the interruption without judgment. This practice can help you remain centered and present even in the face of unexpected disruptions. By embracing interruptions as part of the natural flow of life, you can cultivate a more adaptable and resilient mindset, reducing the stress and frustration that often accompany interruptions. And our fifth and final strategy is reflecting on the deeper meaning of interruptions. We can use interruptions as opportunities for reflection and introspection. What does this interruption reveal about my current state of mind? Are there underlying emotions or thoughts that need to be addressed? Am I resisting the interruption? Or am I open to what it might teach me? By reflecting on these questions, interruptions can become a valuable part of our journey, offering insights into our inner world and helping us cultivate greater self awareness and understanding. Look, interruptions are an unavoidable aspect of life, but they need not be purely disruptive. By understanding how our brains respond to interruptions and adopting practical strategies for managing them, we can navigate these disruptions with greater ease and intention. Interruptions can be seen as opportunities for mindfulness, reflection, and growth. Rather than resisting interruptions, we can embrace them as part of our natural ebb and flow of life, using them to cultivate greater presence, self awareness, and adaptability in our daily lives. Through mindful awareness, creating distraction free environments, practicing intentional task switching or pivoting, and reflecting on the deeper meaning of interruptions, we can turn potential distractions into opportunities for growth and transformation. And in doing so, we align ourselves with principles of agnosticism, living fully in the present moment, embracing the impermanence of life, and seeking meaning in the here and now. But additionally, by drawing on insights from various faiths and belief systems, we can deepen our understanding of interruptions as opportunities for spiritual practice, regardless of our beliefs. That's all the interrupting I'm going to do in your day. If you like this podcast episode, go and give it a review. Subscribe to the None But Curious podcast if you haven't already. You can join our None But Curious Facebook group, and you can subscribe to the newsletter. Pick one, pick all, it doesn't matter. I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, continue finding magic in the mundane.